So today we are going to see blood supply of the brain. Okay. So in blood supply of the brain, what you expect that I will explain the circle of Wells, right? That is okay. Do you know what is the Berry aneurysm? Actually, do you know which artery will affect in the middle medullary syndrome? Do you know which artery will affect in the lateral medullary syndromes? Do you know actually where these major vessels present? Okay, so let me ask one questions. Here is your, for example, this is your brain, right? And you having layers. This is layer which is the pyometer. You know DAP, diameter, arachnoid and pyometer, right? Here this is the pyo, and here is the arachnoid, and here is the dura, right? So this is what? Subdural space, and this is what? Subarachnoid space, and this is what? This is the below the pyometer. Okay. So where it actually present, this blood supply of the brain, you know that it is supplied by the carotid artery, and the we are going to discuss the carotid system, okay, and the vertebral and the basilar. So vertebro-basilar system, okay. So this system we are going to talk, okay. What actually this blood supply of the brain? There is the major branches, okay. It's present in the, what is your option? First in the subdural space or subarachnoid space. There is CSF. So you are if your answer is subarachnoid space, it means this blood vessel is floating inside the CSF or present in the brain, where it actually it's present. Okay, so it's present in the subarachnoid space. Okay, yes, that is the correct answer. Subarachnoid space. So do you know what is the Berry aneurysm? Do you have any idea about Berry aneurysm? If you don't have any idea about Berry aneurysm, what is the subarachnoid hemorrhage? Okay, all these things you have to understand. Okay, so let me talk first of all this blood supply of the brain is also called it's supplied by internal carotid artery and the basilar internal carotid artery and the vertebral artery. Okay, two vertebral artery will form the basilar artery. Okay, so it's also called the carotid basilar system. Okay, carotid-basilar system. Okay, but see here, I will start from the actually from where I should start. Can I start direct from the major vessels and see, I can explain circle of the Wells. I can explain within 2 minutes. Okay, but that is the waste of the time. Okay, so what I do, I will start from the arch of aorta. Okay, you will understand very well. Do you know why this anterior cerebral artery, why it is called anteriorly? Since its course is it's moving posteriorly. Okay, it's going posteriorly, but it also called anterior words, right? Why it's called? Okay, I will explain everything. So carotid artery in the which internal carotid artery we are going to see this internal carotid artery supplying. External carotid artery, you know. Okay, there is 8 branches and that is the head and neck. Okay, finish. And basilar. Okay, so vertebral artery. Okay, two vertebral artery will form the basilar artery. Okay, so now here I want to draw one diagram. That is the from here you just assume this circle is the left ventricle. Just assume left ventricle, right? And from here what? Arch of aorta is going. Am I right? You know left side there is 2 branches. Can you name? Yes. This is the subclavian artery and this is the common carotid artery. Okay, no problem. From here, only one. That can you name? Yes. Can you tell me name? This is the what? Right brachiocephalic trunk, right? And this is the subclavian artery and here is the common carotid artery. You know this common carotid artery is going upward? Yeah. Here is the external carotid artery and this is the internal carotid artery. Right? From here, same things. this is the internal carotid artery, and here is the external carotid artery, right? This thing is the external carotid artery. Can you tell me this vertebral artery is a branch of what? Vertebral artery is a branch of what? This is the subclavian artery. Subclavian artery, right? So we know that subclavian artery has three parts. Okay, so VIT, from first VIT, right? So vertebral artery. So vertebral artery will arise from here and it will go like here medially, and from here it's continue like this. Same things from here. It runs medially upwards. After that medially, from here it will go like this, right? Like this. And what I said, two vertebral artery. This vertebral artery, one, the second. Okay, two vertebral artery meet and they will form one artery, and that is called basilar artery. Okay, so this is the basilar artery. Here is the basilar artery, and these two are the vertebral artery. So what actually I want to tell you, see here. This is the common carotid artery and this is the internal carotid artery, right? This is the internal carotid artery. So can you see the diagram? Which is the superficial? Which is the anteriorly? See, carotid, internal carotid, this is the anteriorly. Okay, and this vertebral artery, it is the posteriorly. That's why I didn't draw from here. Okay, so it's self-understood that this vertebral artery is posteriorly and this is the anteriorly, right? Since this internal carotid artery, this is the internal carotid artery, it's anterior. Okay, so this is called anterior system, right? Yes, this is called anterior system. And this is the vertebral artery. So vertebral artery is the posteriorly. So this is called posterior system. Posterior system. Okay. So this is the actual thing. And we are going to discuss about this basilar artery in the detail. Basilar artery, it will give terminal branches and other branches also. Okay. From after that, this internal carotid artery will come and it will give some branches. Okay. After that, it will make one hexagonal like structure. Okay. So there will be one circle. Okay. That is called circle of Wallis. Okay. We will discuss everything. Our topic is the blood supply to the brain. So I will tell you everything like blood supply, which artery is supplying to the medulla, pons, midbrain, right, cerebellum. Okay, everything we will going to see. Okay, so these things should have in your mind, like anterior system and the posterior system. And one more thing. Okay, now after some I will going to discuss shortly that you should not confuse between two terms. One is the cerebellar artery and one is the cerebral artery. See, think here. This is the anterior system, right? Anterior system, so internal carotid artery. So it's going from here. Okay, I will tell you course and everything. It's going from here. And what is here? What is this? Cerebral cortex. Cerebral. Okay. So arteries which arise, which name is the cerebral, that is arise from the internal carotid artery. Yeah, I know there is the one basilar artery. Okay. So last part, like terminal branches of the basilar artery. Okay, that is what? That I will tell, that is the cerebral artery. Okay. So normally that is the cerebral artery. But which artery is arise from the basilar artery? See, that is the posteriorly, like from here. And what we having here? Cerebellum we having here. Okay. So cerebral artery arising from the basilar artery. Okay. I want to tell you that cerebral artery arising from the posterior system. Okay. It also arising from the this vertebral artery. Okay, pica. That is the pica. Okay, I will tell you what is the pica. Okay, so you should not confuse. Okay, so these things. Now, I want to start with the posterior system, right? So in the posterior system, what we have to discuss? Actually, we have to discuss these things. That is called see here, two vertebral artery. Okay, no problem. I think it's visible here. Two vertebral artery. This is the two vertebral artery. This is one vertebral artery. This is second vertebral artery. Right? Two vertebral artery, and it's forming the basilar artery. This is the basilar artery. Any problem? No. This is the basilar artery. Now, this basilar artery is the terminal branch This is the terminal branch. This thing is the terminal branch, right? So this is vertebral artery, and you know anterior spinal artery. One artery is coming from here, this from two sides, and it's joining, and that is called anterior spinal artery, which supply the anterior two-thirds of the spinal cord, right? So this is, and one is from also here, which I'm going to show with blue color. Okay, I know I should not show with blue color, but I want to make difference. Okay, so this is what this is called posterior. This is the anterior spinal artery, posterior spinal artery, right? Here is also one posterior spinal artery, 2 in number, and anterior spinal artery. Okay, so this posterior spinal artery, just leave it. Okay, one artery from this vertebral artery, and that is called what? Pica. This artery is called pica. What is the pica? Pica, see, posterior inferior cerebellar artery, right? So posterior inferior cerebellar artery, right? What will happen here is when this basilar artery is giving one branch, that is called ica. Ica. What is ica? See here. This is the posterior inferior cerebellar artery. This is the anterior inferior cerebellar artery. Am I right? Yes. Now here is some small branches, that is called pontine artery. Okay, PA, pontine artery. Okay. So what I actually want to tell you, see here, there is two syndromes. Okay, so these things, no, from here it's coming. Okay, a vertebral artery, I will tell you from where it enter into the foramen and everything I will tell you. Okay, so this is the central line structure, right? Yes, this is the central line structure. I think it's visible up to this. This is the central line structure. Okay, so there is one thing that is called middle medullary syndrome, right? And one is the lateral medullary syndrome, so MS. Okay, yes. Frequently asking this question, okay, and this question has been asked in various exams. Okay, so many times this question has been asked in the various exam. Okay, in the middle medullary artery, middle medullary syndrome, which artery is going to affect, and the lateral medullary syndrome, which artery going to affect. See here, this pica and this vertebral artery lateral to this medial plane, so that is the lateral medullary syndrome. So in the lateral medullary syndrome, which artery is going to mainly affect? Pica. Pica. See, this is the plan. Okay, and in the middle medullary syndrome, tell me, what is this? This two artery combined and forming what? Anterior spinal artery. See here, anterior spinal artery. Am I right? So middle medullary syndrome, which artery is going to affect? Anterior spinal artery going to affect in this. So this is very easy. Okay, you should have concept. Medullary syndrome. Oh, medial, right? What is there? Anterior spinal artery gone. Lateral medullary syndrome. So pica. Okay. Sometimes vertebral artery also, but major this is the pica only, right? So middle medullary syndrome and the lateral medullary syndrome over, right? This thing, and what can be the symptoms and everything, which structure will be affected, that you have to see in the physiology. Okay, yeah. Now, one thing, let me draw very clear diagram here. Okay, so you will understand. I will draw this there. Okay, but with the structure. So, can you recognize this structure? These things. These things. And here is your spinal cord. Okay, so it's, I think up to this it's visible, right? This is your spinal cord. So what is this? Tell me fast. What is this? This is the midbrain. Here is the midbrain, right? Here is the midbrain. And here is the, which structure? Third cranial nerve. Third cranial nerve. Okay, remember these things. And this is what this is your pons, right? Here is the medulla oblongata, and this is your spinal cord. Okay, so you note it. Okay, I want to rough it. Okay, so you know this is the brain stem. Okay, now what I actually want to show you is this. Here is the, and this is the pons and this is the medulla, right? So here is one artery. This artery is called, this is the vertebral artery, right? One side. From second side, from another side, this is, so one vertebral artery and this is the second vertebral artery. It join and it's going upward up to this, right? So what I actually want to tell you that two vertebral artery meet at the level of what? Tell me, at the level of, this is level and that level is called what? Pontomedullary junction. This is pons and this is medulla. So pontomedullary junction. So this is pontomedullary junction, right? So it meets at the level of pontomedullary junctions. From there, basilar artery. This is the basilar artery, and it's going up to here. Now, can you tell me from here two branches? This. What is name of these branches? Oh, I didn't mention yet. This branches is the posterior cerebral artery. Cerebral artery, not cerebral artery. See here. Here is the midbrain, right? Midbrain, this is the, from here spinal cord, medulla oblongata, pons, midbrain, and after that what? Cerebral, there no. So cerebral cortex is there, right? So now it's going anteriorly. So what is there? Cerebral. There is a cerebral, right? So this is the artery is called posterior cerebral artery. So this is the posterior cerebral artery, right? Now the thing is, from here, this is the vertebral artery. From here, anterior spinal artery is coming. See here. This is what? This is the anterior spinal artery which I saw here. Okay, already. One thing I want to show in the blue marker that this is what? Posterior spinal artery. Yeah, okay, no problem. And this is the pontomedullary junctions, right? See, this is the cut sections. This is the cut section. You are cutting me from here and you are visualizing. Okay. So, this is okay. Midbrain, pons, medulla. And what is here? Cerebellum is there. Okay. So, this is the cerebellum. And this is the inferior surface of the cerebellum. Right? This is the cerebellum. Okay. Now, one artery, pica. Pica is a branch of pica. Here is the pica. Pica is a branch of vertebral artery, right? So here it vertebral, it will give one branch, this branch. Okay, this branch. This is called pica. So I mentioned here this is pica, right? After that, here branch from here. That is the which branch? That is the ICA. Anterior inferior cerebellar artery, right? Here is the pontine, small branches, that is the pontine branches, right? In the basilar artery, here one branch will be there. Okay? This here, one branch. And that is called superior. See, this is the anterior, this is the posterior, and this is the inferior. This both are supplying inferior surface. Okay. So this is the superior cerebellar artery. Right? Here is the superior cerebellar artery. Right? And this is the posterior cerebral artery. Okay. That is the terminal branch of this basilar artery. Right? So now you tell me, this is the pica. So pica is supplying posterior inferior cerebellar artery. So it's supplying cerebellum, right? Yes, but you should not forget it also supplying. This is the medulla. So in blue color I am showing, this is also supplying to the lateral part of the medulla. So also medulla, right? Yes, this is the ICA, anterior inferior cerebellar artery, right? So it's supplying cerebellar. So cerebrum, and see here, it's going from here. Okay, so it also supplying pons, this part of the pons, right? So pons. Now tell me superior cerebellar artery. So it's supplying cerebellum, right? It also supplying these structures and this structure. Can I tell? Oh, sorry, this structure it's supplying. It also supplying this, means pons, and also supplying to the midbrain. Right? So these things you have to remember. Now, one time question has been asked that artery supply of the medulla. Now, can you tell me artery supply of the medulla? Artery supply. See here, anterior spinal artery from this level. See, this is the medulla. So this coming from here, come out from here, no. So it also supplying anterior spinal artery, supplying this medulla. This is what? Blue color. Posterior spinal artery. Third, vertebral artery is also supplying this medulla, right? And it's joining up to this onto medullary junctions. So before that it's supplying, so vertebral artery. Fourth, can you tell this pica? Yes, pica is also supplying. So pica. And fifth, medullary branch from the basilar artery, right? So this you should not forget, medullary branch from basilar artery. So many times it's question has been asked, okay, which one of the following is not supplying to the medulla? Okay, so these all are the arteries. Now, if you remember these all things in this posterior structures, then only you can remember all the things, right? Okay. Now, one time question has been asked, what is the blood supply of the pons? Can you tell me the blood supply of the pons? Yeah, pons. Pons is here. Okay. So basilar artery. Yes, first thing is the basilar artery, right thing. Basilar artery. Second thing is the ICA. See here, pons. So ICA is also supplying this structure. See, ICA is supplying, right? Here is the superior cerebellar artery. That is also supplying. See here. Yes. So third thing is the superior cerebellar artery. Right? So these things is these three arteries supplying this to pons, right? Can you tell me the artery supply of this midbrain? Midbrain. Can I tell? Yes. This superior cerebral artery is supplying. Yes, see here. This is supplying, right? And this posterior cerebral, not cerebellar artery is also supplying, right? Can you tell me the artery supply of the cerebellum? Very easy. For cerebellum, what is this? ICA, pica, and there is no don't tell there is SICA, okay? SC. Okay, so this is the artery supply of the every organs. This is how you have to remember. If you going from down to up, okay, you know, oh, middle medullary syndrome, okay, which artery? Lateral medullary syndrome, which artery? See, this is how we are going to see. We are going to discuss that which that circle of valleys, okay. But this thing you should know. Okay, if you going and direct see the circle of valleys, and if examiner is asking question, tell me the blood supply of the medulla, you don't know, then what is the purpose of reading? So you should read like this, okay. So these all are the artery supply, okay. These all are the artery supply, okay. Now these all are the artery supply, and one thing, this ICA, no? this ICA. ICA is arising from where? It's different. It's person to person different. Okay, it can be arising from the vertebral artery or direct from the basilar artery. This thing you should remember. Okay. Other things, other everything we have covered. Okay, one artery from here. This is the basilar artery, no? So one artery is very long artery is arising from this basilar system. Okay, that is called what? The artery name is labyrinthine artery. LA, labyrinthine artery. Okay, so how it's entering? Labyrinthine artery is supplying to the inner ear. Okay, AIMS 2018. They in PG exam they ask labyrinthine artery is a branch of. Is a branch of. One time question has been asked. Inner ear is supplied by. So that is the labyrinthine artery. Okay, let me draw one diagram. See. Here is your nose. Here is obviously your ear. Okay, top section we are going to see. This is the what? External auditory canal. Here is the middle ear, and here is the vestibule and semicircular canal and the cochlea, right? And this is what? Already I have discussed these things in the middle ear anatomy, right? Here will be your friend pituitary gland, right? Yeah. And here is the foramen. Which foramen? In through spinal cord is coming. And here is two things. What is that? This is internal acoustic meatus. Internal acoustic meatus. So what actually happened? Two vertebral artery. It will come from here. Yes. It will enter into this foramen. Yes. Foramen magnum, right? From here it's going and communicating with each other. And this is the basilar artery. From here one artery will come and it will enter into this internal acoustic meatus and it will supply to the inner ear. So what is the blood supply of the inner ear? That is the labyrinthine artery, which is a branch of the basilar artery. See here, basilar artery, and through where? Internal acoustic meatus. Okay, this thing you should remember. Okay, now see, I am telling you continuously this vertebral artery. Okay, so what we should discuss about this vertebral artery? That vertebral artery, two vertebral artery, it's enter into the brain through the foramen magnum, right? Through this foramen magnum, and its spinal cord. See, here is the spinal cord. It's behind that spinal cord. Okay, let's enter into these things. Okay, so this is the vertebral artery. In the vertebral artery, there is the four course. Okay, so that you have to remember. If you want, I can show you. Okay, but it will take more time, right? So there is a four course. See here, foramen magnum. Foramen magnum is here. Okay, and here is your subclavian artery. See very fast. Here is subclavian artery, and here is your vertebral artery. Okay, and here is your what is this? This is your vertebra. Okay, I'm just roughly drawing. Okay, it starts from C6 and up to the C1. Okay, so from here it should enter into this lateral process. In this there is one foramen, it enter and it will come out through. Okay, so up to this is the first part. Up to this is the second part. Up, it's enter into the skull. Okay, up to this foramen it's the third part, and after this foramen is the fourth part. Okay, so this is four part of the vertebral artery. This is the fourth part. Okay, so this thing you should remember. Okay, now internal carotid artery system. These things should remember. These things up to this you should remember. Okay, now here is the posterior cerebral artery. Okay, now we are going with the internal carotid artery. Okay, how it communicates with this? Okay, so let me draw one diagram. We are going to see lateral view. See, if you want to see internal carotid artery is going from here. Am I right or not? Yes. So you just cut me from here. Okay, and you see this view. Okay, it will be good. So I think it's these things and it's these things. Here is one foramen, that is the foramen magnum, and this is what? Can you tell me what is this? This is the anterior cranial fossa. Anterior cranial fossa. This is the posterior, sorry, this is the middle cranial fossa. Middle cranial fossa. And here is the posterior cranial fossa. Is it? Yes. Now, from here this is your beautiful nose and these things. Right? These things. Now, you know the thing, here is the eye. Okay, here is the eye. So, this is your eye. Now, I want to start from arch of iota. So, this is the arch of iota. Okay, from here, in the these things, internal carotid artery, right? So, here is the internal carotid, sorry, here is the carotid canal, here. This thing is the carotid canal, right? So, this internal carotid artery is coming, it goes upwards and it enters into the what? In carotid canal, it will carotid canal, in within the carotid canal it runs upward. After that it runs forward. It runs forwards. And after that it runs medially. Right? So I want to just remove this part. Anterior cranial fossa. So here is the here. What will be here? Cavernous sinus will be here. This thing is the cavernous sinus. Okay. So from here it will go to the cavernous sinus. After that, from the roof of the cavernous sinus, it will give one this branch. I am not sure whether it is visible. Okay. So from one is here and second is the here. Okay. Before that, it is giving some branches. Okay. So you see, this is the posterior cranial fossa and everything we don't need. Okay. Now, so just rough it. And I want to draw that diagram here. Okay. So, this is the internal carotid canal. It's going like this. And here. And from here is the cavernous sinus. Right? Here is the cavernous sinus. Just assume. Okay. From roof of this, before cavernous sinus, it's giving one branch. For example, here is your nose. And this part, nose and this part. Okay, so this was our actual diagram. So from here it's giving one branch, and this here is the eye, right? So what is this thing? Can you tell me what is this thing? Diagram is not good, but what is this thing? Here is the orbit, right? Orbital cavity. This is the orbital cavity. So can you tell me what will be here? Orbital canal, right? And this is the superior orbital fissure. So what it actually happened, here it giving one branch, and that branch is called ophthalmic artery, and which enter into this canal or optic canal, and it will give one artery that is called retinal artery. Why I am mentioning this here? Okay, why I am giving so much attention on this? Because see, whenever this is the internal carotid artery. So whenever there is whenever there is a poor perfusions in this internal carotid artery, okay, if there is not adequate amount of the blood, what will happen? This is the retinal artery, okay, there will be, if here is not adequate amount of blood, it means here is the blood supply will be decreased. Okay, so blurring will be there. Okay, patient will complain of the blurring. Okay, that is due to the poor blood supply, right? So this is one branch. Now second branch, from here it's giving one branch this posteriorly, and one branch again to the posterior. So this is called posterior communicating artery. Posterior communicating artery. So now you should be very careful. Okay, attention, because circle of Ellis has started. See, this is the posterior communicating artery. Yes, and this is called anterior anterior cerebral artery. Cerebral artery. So this is the one thing. From here it's going and it's giving one branch that is called communicating also. See, which is anterior communicating artery is the right answer. This is the posterior communicating artery. That is right answer. What is this? Actually, this going posteriorly. But it is also, it's called anterior cerebral artery. Is it anterior cerebral artery? Think. And from here, it will give what? From here, it will give two terminal branches. This is one and here is the second. So second, this is called middle cerebral artery and this is called anterior cerebral artery. Cerebral artery. So which is this artery? This artery is called what? It's going posteriorly and it's making what? It's making, you know that here is the somewhere here is the lateral ventricles. Okay, so lateral ventricle is this, there is a choroid plexus and that choroid plexus is formed by which artery? Tell me, that choroid plexus is formed by which artery? Anterior, sorry. This is the anterior choroidal artery. Okay, sorry. This is the anterior choroidal artery, right? Choroidal. I am mentioning here choroidal artery. Okay, I forgot this is anterior choroidal artery, right? This is the anterior cerebral artery. Right? So this is arteries. So now this anterior choroidal artery, why it is called anteriorly? Since its course is the posteriorly. It's going posteriorly, right? Yes, but it also called anteriorly because this is the branch from the internal carotid artery, which is the anterior system or the posterior system, which is the anterior system, right? So that is called anterior choroidal artery. Okay, choroidal artery, which why it's going posteriorly? Because see, we are talking about here, right? Here. So in here, so what will happen in the middle cranial fossa only, right? So what will happen? There will be the lateral ventricle. Okay, so it's going to the lateral ventricles and it's forming the choroid plexus in the lateral ventricle, right? So this is that's why it's called anterior. Anterior means it's arising from the anterior system. Okay, and this is the anterior cerebral artery and here is the middle cerebral artery. Middle cerebral artery is a more lateral. Okay, it's not participating in the circle of the Willis. Okay, so circle of the Willis. Now I want to draw one diagram, that is the circle of the Willis. Right. So this diagram, this is there. Okay. Just 1 minute. Here is the internal carotid artery. This is the internal carotid artery. Right. So what will happen? And after that, it's giving. This is what? Anterior cerebral artery, and here is the middle cerebral artery, right? So same thing will happen in that side, opposite side, right? So opposite side I am drawing here. Opposite side is, this is the anterior cerebral artery and here is the middle cerebral artery, right? Now can you tell me the vertebrovascular system? So here is the two vertebral artery and this is the basilar system. And it's giving this terminal branches, right? So what actually happened, this is the two. Okay, so I want to draw it here. It's like this. And this is the what? terminal branches, right? So this here, just now I mentioned one big branch that is called posterior communicating artery. Okay, so here, from here, one posterior communicating artery will come and it will communicate with this. From here also it will communicate with this. Can you understand? Yes. And here will be, before mentioning these things, I would like to mention one thing, that is the between these two artery there is one communication. Okay, and that communication is the what? Anterior communicating artery. This is the communicating artery, not cerebral or cerebral. Okay, I'm going to write. I'm writing everything in the short form. So this is the communicating artery between this artery. Right now, from here one branch, it will come. This is the called posterior cerebral artery. So can you see here is one circle-like structure. This circle-like structure, that is called what? Circle of Willis. Okay, so in other words, if you want to draw it, then see here. Vertebral artery, this here is the basilar artery, right? Here is this is the basilar artery. Yeah, this is the basilar artery, and it's giving two branches. This is the lateral. So this is the terminal branches. Okay, here is the internal carotid system. Here is the internal carotid artery. Internal carotid artery, and this is the middle cerebral artery, and this is the internal cerebral artery. This is the terminal branch. Okay, that's why I show like this. Okay, now it will give what? Which branch? Anterior cerebral. Here, this is the anterior cerebral. Right. From here also, internal carotid artery, it will give anterior cerebral. Okay. In between these two, there is one communications. Between these two arteries, there is one communication. That is called communicating artery. Right? This is the communicating artery, anterior communicating artery. And from here, one artery will come. That is called this artery. This is the posterior communicating artery. Right? So this artery is like terminal artery. Now you show like this. So it will be this. Okay. And here is, this is right. This is the posterior communicating artery. This is the anterior communicating artery, and this is the anterior cerebral artery, and this is what? Superior cerebellar artery. Right? This is the terminal branches, no? Yeah. Sorry. This is the terminal branches. Okay. Yeah, this is the terminal branch. Okay. So this is your circle of the Willis. Okay. Can you see here one beautiful ring? This ring. Okay, that is called circle of Willis. This is things which we have to understand. So now you tell me, circle of Willis, which artery is participating? Anterior here. Anterior communicating artery 1. Posterior communicating artery 2. Right or not? Yes, posterior communicating artery is 2. Posterior cerebral artery. This is the posterior cerebral artery. Posterior cerebral artery. 2 number. Right? This is 2. This is also 2. And this is what? Anterior cerebral artery. This is also 2 in number. Okay, so these are the artery which present here. Okay, and now you tell me these things, major blood vessels present in the subarachnoid space. Okay, and berry aneurysm. What is the berry aneurysm? Aneurysm is any dilation of the blood vessels. Okay, there is so many reasons. Okay, factors, and which is the very prone to get aneurysm. This is this anterior communicating is the very prone. And one thing. Tell me what is the importance of this circle. Now can you understand? See, from here blood is coming, from here also blood is coming, right? It's from basilar artery. basilar artery, it's going here and here, right? Here is the one communication. So blood will go from here, and from here blood will come up to this line. Okay, up to this level it will meet. From here it will meet here, right? So if one major blood vessels, for example, it's getting damaged, or if there is any blockage of this internal carotid artery, okay, maybe there is embolism or whatever, right? So what will happen? Here blood supply will be affected. So what will happen? Blood will come from here, it will enter into the here, and it will supply, it will go from here to this pathway, and after that it can go to the above. Okay, so this is the importance. Okay, if one thing is getting damaged, one major blood vessel is damaging, so this is the very important, wonderful collateral circulations. The example of a wonderful example for the collateral circulations. Okay, so if it's getting blocked, no problem. Okay, if it's getting blocked, blood will go from here and it will go to like this. Okay, so barrier aneurysm is nothing, it is a dilation of the blood vessels. Maybe there is so many factors, and this is the anterior cerebral artery, and this artery is also can affected, right? So what is here? Third cranial nerve. I show now here is third cranial nerve. So third cranial nerve is also present, right? So damaging of the third cranial nerve, what will happen? Blurring will be there, right? So all these things you have to understand. Here is the optic chiasma is here, so blurring will be occurs. Okay, so this is the barrier aneurysm, and barrier aneurysm is also called what? Subarachnoid. If barrier aneurysm, that is if going to rupture, that is the subarachnoid hemorrhage. That is the subarachnoid hemorrhage. Okay, because these all vessels are present in the subarachnoid space. Okay, so that's why it's called subarachnoid space. Now I think you understood subarachnoid space. Barrier aneurysm, where it's present, that also you understood. Okay, and this is the things, like see, it's a very you can draw anytime, right? You can draw this circle of Wells anytime, anywhere. Okay, very simple. You have to draw like this. Here is this, here this internal, this is the two system. Okay, so from here posterior communicating artery, from here one artery will come. Okay, it will go like this. Here is one communications, one artery will here like this. Okay, this is what? This is the circle of the Wells. Okay, it's very simple, but you have to understand all these things. Okay, inner ear supply, other all branches of this, everything. Okay, so I think I have covered everything. And the middle, this middle cerebral artery, no, here, this is the middle cerebral artery. Middle cerebral artery, okay, which is not participating in this, and it will enter into the, it will runs more laterally. Okay, so what is the blood supply of the basal ganglion, internal capsule? That is by this middle cerebral artery. Okay, so I hope you all now you are thorough with this circle of the Wells, and also there is whatever I taught you. Okay, so thank you.